You're listening to Seattle Real Estate Podcast.
Got a good one for you today. A bunch of you guys sent me this one. Squatters take over a multimillion-dollar Sammamish home. Police say their hands are tied on the matter. That's what we're talking about today. Got squatters, and they're not just squatters. They've got some guns, they've got some drugs, they've got some contraband. What are they doing? Let's find out. Before we do, if you're new here, my name is Sean Reynolds. I own a couple of real estate companies, and I read the news. Let's do this. Okay. This is a Cairo News article. Somebody said, this is a banger of an article or something like that. I'm like, this is a doozy. It is pretty crazy. Every now and then you'll see an article like this where squatters have literally taken over, some really nice home. We had one of those people saying, hey, we own everything in the Western world because of our heritage aligns with this. That was happening up in the Woodway area, which is kind of Edmonds, north of downtown Seattle by, I don't know, probably an hour drive in decent traffic, crappy traffic, maybe 2 hours. But every now and then you'll see these storylines. And this one in particular, it's pretty good. A multi-million-dollar home in Sammamish is at the center of an ongoing investigation as squatters continue to break in and make the home their own. It's crazy that the police are kind of have their hands tied on this stuff, right? Because you just think, oh, just throw them out. I've had video from you guys. You guys have personally sent me video of squatters who have been in your investment homes. You know who you are. And police just basically, some jurisdictions are going to be, yeah, you're out of here. You're gone. They're not going to question it. Other police kind of following the rules a little bit more. They're like, hey, this isn't, if nothing illegal is going on, then we can't really do much. It's landlord-tenant type issue because they've got rights. The amount of guns, drugs, etc. that were confiscated out of that place are not for personal use or for any good reason, Sammamish Police Chief Dan Pingrey said. I totally recognize how frustrating it is for the neighborhood, and it's just as frustrating for us, to be honest with you. The police just can't do anything. It's the law. Sometimes these squatters get in there and they hunker down and they're just there. Right now on the Summit side, we've got a situation where we've got squatters living in an RV that may or may not run in the back of a home that our new buyers have taken over. And the squatters that are living in the RV, they're kind of relatives of the old seller who just, yeah, you can stay back there. I'm selling the house. Don't really care. Becomes a mess. So a lot of what we are concerned about in real estate is, do you have a lease? Do you have the ability to throw them out? Is it all written out? Is it defined? Do you have everything squared away? And that's why you don't allow people typically to do early occupancy, meaning before they actually buy the home, because there's situations like this where people get in there before they close and they go sideways. It doesn't happen very often. But things do happen, and then squatters have rights, and then you're off to the races of, oh, what are we going to do? The homeowner lives abroad. Homeowner lives overseas. But a few people living locally help maintain the home with routine checkups. One of those workers stopped by the home and found, here it is, 12 guns, some bulletproof vests, more than 15,000 fentanyl pills, some heroin, a smidge of meth, and more than $40,000 in cash. So what would you suppose with that configuration of stuff going on? Guns, bulletproof vests, some fentanyl, heroin, meth, and 40 grand in cash. What do you think they're doing? That's not a hard question to answer, is it? They've got a drug thing going on. The worker called 911 and police arrived on the scene. As we were beginning to take a look at our next steps, an unlicensed motorcycle showed up with 2 people on it, Pingrey said. Neighbors identified the 2 people as the squatters, and both were arrested for burglary, according to Pingrey. Both were out of jail within days and headed back to the home, bringing more people with them. That is crazy. How does this work? Yeah, we're just going to go right back to the house. We're going to go get our stuff. It's so brazen. If I was arrested and did a couple of days in jail till I got myself out, I wouldn't be going back to get my stuff if I knew I did something illegal, right? No, people just do crazy stuff in our society. It just allows it. Oh yeah, you could go back and get your stuff. I was reading an article about how a homeless group was suing the city of Seattle for not taking care of their stuff long enough. In these sweeps that happen, City of Seattle, Department of Transportation, Public Works, they come out and they basically just have to rake all this stuff up into a pile. And yeah, there is some stuff there. You've got the story I read was a gal who had work clothes and a computer, a laptop that she was trying to use to get a job. So it gets really messy. I mean, it gets really ugly. Most of the stuff in the homeless encampments is truly just junk. But unfortunately, there are times where there is some stuff and people are like, but the issue I have is if you know a sweep is coming, get your good stuff out of there. Get it wherever you're going to go next. You've got kind of personal responsibility to take care of your own stuff, right? Don't sue the city and say, hey, give me my stuff back. Because that is one of the big things on these homeless encampment sweeps is the city has to hold said stuff, I think for 90 days. I think during the Rona, it's 90 days. I might be wrong. Let me know in the comments. So after these two people on the motorcycle, after they were out of jail, we had a large group trying to get back into the house, Pingrey said. No one was supposed to be there. The homeowners were not allowing anyone to stay there. No go on homeowners. Taking the advice of local prosecutors and lawyers, Pingrey said law enforcement is limited in what they can do. His frustrations hit a boiling point when the squatters demanded to be allowed to take property inside the home with them. Pingrey said legally his hands were tied and officers conducted a civil standby. That is where they walk you into your home and they stand there as you grab stuff, you haul it out. They basically just stand and watch and you get your stuff out and they make sure nothing squirrely goes on, right? So these just ballsy squatters just, we need our stuff back. Damn it. We can't squat in the house anymore. Give us our stuff back. We need our stuff. That's just nuts. Pictures taken by a neighbor show police vehicles lined up on the street with officers watching as the squatters filled a U-Haul truck with items inside. Another picture shows a garage full of appliances, including an ATM. I'm sorry, what? You've got a cash machine? Should we check the cash machine, see if it maybe has been stolen? I don't know. Just nuts, right? Hey, let's go back to where Sammamish is. Sorry about that. Right off the bat, I forgot to identify that. Sammamish is about 20 miles kind of to the east of downtown Seattle, but you go this route, you got to go on I-90 and get there, and it probably takes half an hour to get there from downtown Seattle, depending where in Sammamish this home is located, but it is definitely a suburban area and it overlooks Lake Sammamish and it's called the Sammamish Plateau. It's a cool area. It's a nice area. There's some nice homes. And that's why squatters are not going to fit in. Whereas in Seattle proper, you could probably have a squatter living there for a long time and you'd never know it because they're going to kind of fit in with all the homeless encampments and everything else going in certain neighborhoods. Other neighborhoods, not so much. It's only certain neighborhoods that, we kind of allow just the crazy stuff to go on in Seattle. Other neighborhoods are like, that's not really our thing here. You guys need to go over there a little bit. We were not allowed to go in there with them and had to allow them to take this property out, Pingrey said. The person who had been illegally living there was to come in and get what they stated was their property, and then they got to take off. Civil escort, I think it is. A worker for the homeowner was on the property Monday. He said he was changing the locks to the home. Good call. Good call. A home security technician was also there. So what we see here in the Seattle market is a ton of foreign investors that come in and they buy stuff. They buy it for cash. And unless they've got somebody that is connected to them looking at the home on the ground, you could have squatters living in there for a year and you wouldn't know it. There's a ton of homes up in Vancouver, British Columbia, same situation. And it got so bad, not that there were squatters involved, but it got so bad with basically having abandoned homes that the government was taxing them, I think $15,000 a year if they had a vacant home, because they're basically taking up housing supply. and they're parking their money, and the city of Vancouver is like, okay, we're going to get paid. If you guys want to do that, that's fine. We're going to get it. We're going to get our money. We're going to get our blood from you. Somehow these squatters who are living in this residence have as much rights as the homeowner. And that's very difficult for any of us to understand, Pingrey said. It could happen again somewhere else, and this is where people and communities really need to be diligent. Yeah, you always hear of these stories, but this is kind of a really blatant example. If it is a multi-million-dollar home, that's kind of hard to imagine people rolling up on a motorcycle that are running drugs and the neighbor's not really saying, hey, what are they doing over there? Are those our new neighbors? Is that the new tenants? What are they doing over there? So crazy times. And the police, they really can't do anything. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to read this article, is because possession is literally 9/10 of the law. It is. If you are in the home, you've got certain rights. And if you're a real estate broker, if you're a seller, if you're a property owner, you're going to have to go to court in order to kind of take back some of those rights as the property is yours. That is how crazy this, market is and how things are. And especially with the coronavirus regulations and the eviction moratoriums, if somebody's in there, you're going to have to prove how you're going to get them out. And this one, obviously, with the drugs and all the other stuff that's in there, way beyond personal consumption usage, right? They're basically just running a fentanyl ring, and they've got some protection at the drugs. You got the drugs, you got the guns and the bulletproof vests. Those are always classic giveaways, aren't they? Of just, oh, hey, yeah, you guys are doing something you shouldn't be doing. And if I were those guys, I wouldn't be taking over a multi-million-dollar home, right? I mean, that's just take over some little shack somewhere, because they've got to be staking it out for a while. Don't you think? Hey, there's really nobody occupying this home. It's been vacant for a long time. We've kind of kept our eye on it. And how do they get into it initially? Open window? Maybe. They break a lock. Doesn't say that had happened. So if they did break a lock or whatever, maybe they brought out, they got 40 grand in cash or whatever, right? You can certainly afford to have the locksmith come back out. But it sounds like the landlord was changing out the locks anyway. So situations like this, super scary, because once somebody is in a home, there is not a lot you can do. And going back to the early possession, that's real estate people's greatest fear, is that, okay, this person just basically hoses us. And then they go in there. Amazing movie back in I think it was 1990s. It might have even been late 80s. I can't remember. But it was Pacific Heights. Meg Ryan and the guy from the wrestling movie. I can't remember his name. But, and then Keaton, what's his first name? Michael Keaton, I think it was. Michael Keaton leased a unit within a home in Pacific Heights in San Francisco, and that's what it's about. And it's about him just destroying the unit he was in. He ripped it apart. He and his partner ripped it apart. And then they wait for the homeowner to get so frustrated, the homeowner comes in and beats him up, and he's got a lawsuit. And then he's got a case against him. Just turns people's lives upside down. So that can happen. And that is real estate 101. That's what you're trying to avoid. So that's why there's such a big thing in real estate about early possession. And if you've got an early possession situation, you create some kind of lease. And even if the seller needs to stay in the home after the deal is closed, that's a seller rent back. And you're going to have paperwork for that as well. You're going to have a signed contract most of the time, because that outlines, okay, you are supposed to be in here for this amount of time. And then you've got something to take to court if need be. Most of the time between a seller and a buyer, things don't go sideways. It's where you've got a squatter who's just way outside of the law, but they're there. And guess what? With the situation with the squatters in the backyard living in an RV in our deal, you go to the police, you know what they're going to say? Sorry, can't help you. No sweeps, not doing that. You're going to have to take it to the courts and figure it out. So there's a ton of situations out there that are just waiting for these eviction moratoriums to be lifted. And man, it's going to be a bloodbath as far as, the legality of that goes. It's one of those situations where you've bottled up all of these legal situations where tenants haven't been paying rent, or just, other situations where there's conflict between the landlord and the tenant, which is normal. You've always got a certain percentage of evictions going on. It's not like evictions are new to the era of the coronavirus. We've got these eviction moratoriums going on. That's not the case. You've always got a certain number of tenants who are being evicted for whatever reason. So you've got a lot of this going on, but this story is interesting because Sammamish, you don't hear about squatters taking a home in Sammamish very often. That is a unique thing. This is a new deal. So are they getting more brazen? I don't know, but I'm going to keep my eye out on this story and just kind of see where this one goes, because man, you get squatters taking over a really super nice neighborhood. And I know you guys have sent me a lot of stories of, your neighborhoods of where things like this have happened. And it seems like, and it feels like normal homeowners just don't have the same rights as we used to, as far as, hey, you're in my home, get out. Or, hey, you're in my home, I'm calling the police and you got to get out. In this case, the police were able to arrest them, send them to jail for trespassing, but they're able to get their stuff out. That is just nuts. I think what I would have done if I was the seller is I would have taken the stuff out, put it in the garage, something like that. I mean, but they probably didn't have enough time to react, and they're trying to figure out, okay, what do I do here? But to have these people coming back and saying, yeah, we need our stuff, including an ATM machine. What are we doing there? Does that not strike anybody as kind of wild? Hey, where'd you get that ATM? Did you buy your own ATM machine because you want to put that 40 grand cash in there and then just take it back out? Just do that all day? No, you probably stole the ATM machine, right? So hopefully somebody was on that, but probably not, because there's so many things coming and going in a situation like this that stuff just gets overlooked. Yeah, crazy story, right? Squatters take over a multi-million-dollar Sammamish home. But it's not uncommon, is it? It's not uncommon. And what is shocking is just that in this day and age, everybody has so many rights and everybody's so covered by everything that the police really can't do much. And they're homeowners too. They're homeowners too. And they're just as frustrated, but the law is what it is, especially in the Pacific Northwest. And treat the squatters fine. It's okay. They didn't really mean it. All the guns and drugs, you got to give people a little leniency. Now, somebody squats in a house. I'm glad they got arrested, sent to jail. I think that's fine. I'm okay with that. Getting their stuff back, I would say, yeah, hard no-go. But then again, that's just me. I'm a real estate guy. You squat, you trespass, suffer the consequences. Whatever stuff you leave behind, finders, keepers, losers, weepers. That's kind of how I would handle it. But then again, I'm a real estate guy, and people say, well, yeah, you're kind of harsh. Yeah, no, rolling up to a multi-million-dollar home and finding squatters in it, that's harsh. All right, that's it for me on this one. This one kind of a short podcast, but yeah, weird times, right? All right, thanks so much for being here. I will see you guys in the next one. I think we're going to talk a little bit about CHOP. We've got some stuff going on with texting and cities losing texts and crazy stuff like that. That's what I'm going to talk about next. So stay tuned. Fun stuff. All right. Till then, take care. I'll see you soon. Bye for now. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you'll know when our next video is out.